What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Just a few days ago, Doug Emhoff went on an interview and they were praising him for reshaping the perception of masculinity.
Important part, an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny, I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And
turns out he assaulted his ex-girlfriend, cheated on his wife with the nanny, got her pregnant, and the nanny claimed that she had a miscarriage. Then presumably, Doug Emhoff had her sign an NDA. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, forcefully slapped his ex-girlfriend for flirting with another man in a booze-fueled assault in the valet line. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button. A person called in to C-SPAN and said, all you guys ever talk about is Trump. When are you going to talk about Kamala Harris's husband violently smacking his former ex-girlfriend?
First of all, you guys have this the topic every morning. The first thing you guys talk about was usually supposed to be the top story, but today was all about Trump. That's all we hear about, Trump and how bad Trump is. So what I wanted to ask is, are you going to talk about the what they're calling the first gentleman, Doug Emhoff? What they exposing him for his he got a nanny pregnant or something like that.
I think you might be referring to the Daily Mail story, and it's gotten coverage as well. This from page 2 of the Washington Times. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff, the husband of Vice President Kamala Harris, allegedly assaulted his then-girlfriend during a trip to France over a decade ago, according to, as the Washington Times describes it, a bombshell report in the Daily Mail. The ex-girlfriend, a New Jersey attorney whom the Daily Mail referred to as simply Jane, provided travel documents to prove that she and Emhoff spent time together at the location during the alleged incident. One of the sources told the Daily Mail that Jane recounted the alleged violence to her 4 years later, when then-Senator Kamala Harris grilled Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate confirmation hearing related to sexual assault accusations. The story there in the Washington Times, it was the Daily Mail with the original reporting.
At least in my viewpoint, they're intentionally suppressing this information. They're suppressing negativity towards this ticket, the Harrison Walls ticket, just like they've done with everything else on the Harrison Walls ticket, from Kamala Harris's heritage to Tim Walz's stolen valor to an abundance of other things. And Megyn Kelly went off about this particular situation.
Look, people have marital problems and they make bad decisions when they're married to people that they don't love. All right? However, banging your child's nanny and impregnating her is in a special league of its own. Whatever. He got through the marriage. He managed to somehow remain friends with that first wife, and he married Kamala. I think most of us would have left it alone if he hadn't then paraded himself out there and let the media parade himself out there like he was the ideal husband on steroids. Like he is the new version of what it means to be a real man and eschews toxic masculinity and should really be the role model for my boys and yours. F that. I want my boys to be like my husband, who did not bang the nanny nor impregnate another woman while married to me or ever. It's insane that they tried to sell us this lie that this so-called always supporter of women actually smacked an ex-girlfriend in the face. Either a smack or a punch. It was unclear, according to the Daily Mail's exclusive reporting, that this super guy who's redefined toxic masculinity actually beat a woman that he was dating prior to Kamala. The Daily Mail reports that he did not respond to requests for comment on the article. What does that mean? Is that not even going to be a denial? I guess they'll get around to it. Just an allegation right now, but let me tell you, take some time today to read that Daily Mail report because it's incredibly detailed, incredibly, with several friends of the very successful attorney that he was dating, his alleged victim, going to the Daily Mail, providing records to the Daily Mail, speaking in great detail about the call that the abuse victim alleged made to them after he smacked her in front of other people, in front of French valets over there in Cannes, France. And no one's looked into this, I guess, other than the Daily Mail. Certainly Jen Psaki, I hope, wasn't aware of it when she let him get away with, I've always been like this, a supporter of women, except when I'm slapping them in the face or banging the nanny on the ones I'm married to behind the back of.
At least in my opinion, when Slugger Doug isn't beating him up, he's knocking him out. And he's pro-abortion for the wrong reasons, just in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Slugger Doug lectures Americans about misogyny, while the same moment the press breaks a story about him allegedly beating up a woman.
Two guys who actually not only don't trust women, but are literally running on a platform of authoritarianism and misogyny. That literally should be their slogan, because that's what it is. So you want, people who literally are outwardly misogynistic in their policies and the way they talk about women and the policies in which they have already enacted and have talked about enacting, or Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's completely binary.
If the name were Trump instead of Emhoff in this story, it would be all over the news. You reached out to the campaign. They didn't deny it. They refused to comment. Look at it.
I don't blame you for bringing up the story because in fairness to Donald Trump, which is not something you hear me or most people say all the time, it is absolutely true. If this were him, it would be all over the place. It would be printed. It would be publicized everywhere. We also have to take into account 2018 when then Senator Kamala Harris, obviously when the whole Brett Kavanaugh situation, not as far back as 2018, but when Brett Kavanaugh was obviously running for the Supreme Court, I think it was around that time actually, and I remember her wearing all black and saying she was wearing all black, and I wore black today in support of all survivors of sexual assault or abuse. And it was a hashtag, believe survivors, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you do something like that, it's going to be politicized. And if people believe you've politicized it, the second they get an opportunity to politicize something against you or unfavorable to you, they are going to pounce on that.
You are not going to hear anything from Me Too, Time's Up, or any of them at all. Nothing. But if it were a Republican or a conservative, they would be denying the person accused of due process, because that's what they do, unless it's someone on our side. So what I've just told you is absolutely true. I hate that about this country right now. It is the worst thing about America, that the media has embraced the denial of due process for headlines, for clicks, for money. It is disgraceful.
I will openly confess, I would absolutely positively love to disagree with Bill O'Reilly. I cannot. What he said was right on the money in terms of what has transpired with our media, its coverage, in some instances, in terms of the bias, in terms of the favoritism, in terms of the lack of neutrality, and the absence of due process.
Is this what the Democrats perceive new masculinity is? Drop your comments down below. Let me know what you think about all this. Smash the like button, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.